Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Tri-County Logging. Experienced in sustainable forestry practices, Tri-County Logging can help you manage your property by keeping your woods healthy and generate income. Serving southern and mid-Michigan for nearly 50 years, TriCountyLogging.com.
Hi everyone, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson-Silik, and we've got a great show in store for you this week. We're going to kick it off by taking a look at my early season turkey hunt. My husband's been home from work lately, so I put him to work as my cameraman. We were able to hit it hard for a couple of weeks, and we were able to come away with some exciting footage. You won't want to miss that. Afterwards, we are going to turn back the clock.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have one more story on this week's show. And if you watched the show last week, you got to see the first couple weeks of my turkey season. And then we took a look backwards and went back 17 years on a turkey hunt that I did with my dad in northern Michigan. Well, we got such good feedback from that. We thought we'd do it one more time, but we're going to show you a hunt from 20 years ago with our own Jenny Olson at that point. So make sure that you stay tuned. Lots of good stuff on this week's show. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's meat processor and Michigan destination since 1988. Offers a variety of homemade smoked meats and Michigan-made products in-store and online. The Country Smokehouse features an outdoor barbecue and bar. Details at countrysmokehouse.com. By Angler Quest Pontoons. Angler Quest is a Michigan-based company building boats designed for comfort and fishing functionality. For more information, anglerquestpontoons.com. By Polar Craft Boats, offering riveted and welded boats for the outdoor enthusiast. Whether you're targeting fish or waterfowl, Polar Craft Boats have several models to choose from that keep you high and dry. For more information, polarcraft.com.
Well, good morning. We are officially into the second week of turkey season now, and it's just about 5:30 in the morning. We're going to head out of here. Matt got his bird a couple mornings ago, so now it's my turn. Wearing the GoPro on my head. Matt's going to run the camera. We are headed, I don't even know if it's a mile down the road, to a different piece of farmland where we see the birds out there strutting every morning when we come out of the woods. So we stopped and asked the landowner there if we could hunt, and he said, sure thing. So we're heading over there. We're going to do a setup. I'm going to try for my very first crossbow turkey. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens out there. But we know where they're roosting, so we just got to hope that we can lure them over to our setup this morning.
As daylight broke out here this morning, we saw a tom pop out into the next field over. He was all alone and answering our call, so we knew we had a good chance of getting him to come to us. This gobbler seemed responsive, and with no hens around, we felt fairly confident we could lure him our way. But he had a lot of ground to cover. He was close to 175 yards away at this point, with a ditch between us, and with a rolling hill in the way, he couldn't quite see our decoys from where he was. Our setup didn't allow us to move on him, so we stayed put and waited to see if his curiosity would get the best of him. After an agonizing 20 minutes or more, the tom finally looked like he had made the commitment to come check things out. Once he popped up on top of the hill, he would only be 50 yards out and would just need to take a few more steps toward the decoy before I could take my shot. Unfortunately, this bird didn't follow our plans. When he appeared on our side of the ditch, he was headed off to the left, the exact opposite of what we needed him to do. So, more waiting and watching. In addition to the gobbler, we had 4 or 5 deer out in front of us too. The deer knew something wasn't quite right, and whether they winded us or saw movement in the blind, they were acting nervous, and we weren't sure if their behavior had this Tom a little leery too. He was still gobbling, and he could certainly see our decoy, but he stayed his distance and continued to gobble as he turned and started walking away. A heartbreaker for sure.
Oh, that was very exciting. We called that gobbler all the way over here through a little hedgerow, and he was able to see our decoys once he got in our field. I don't think he could see them from over there because there's a little hill in the way. He got all the way over here, and of course, I had my crossbow set up out the wrong window. And he was so close. He was at 35 yards. And there was no way I could move over to the other window where Matt had the camera going out. There was no way to do that. He was so close. The sun is shining right through this window. We've got 8 set of eyeballs, or I should say 4 sets of eyeballs on us with the deer that are out here. So close, so close. Maybe with a shotgun I could have made it happen, just swung and got him, but not with a crossbow. That's the only time we heard or saw it this morning on this farm, so it might be over.
Well, it was indeed over that morning. The next morning, we started at the farm where Matt shot his bird the week before, but had no activity there. After the early morning hunt, we moved back over to the farm where we had seen the gobbler the day before. On the road in, we saw a Tom strutting for 2 hens off in the corner of the field near the hunting shack, but once we hit the ground, we never could get him to break away from those hens and crest the hill to head our way. The next morning, we were back in the blind and things were looking good. Close call, but it all happened a little too fast for me to get it together and swing to the opposite window in time for a clean shot at this bird. He was following 3 hens who had passed through the hedgerow we were in and were already out in the field on the other side of the trees. He gave our decoy a half-hearted strut on his way by, and that was about it. Now the hens had him moving further away with branches in the way, so it was time to put down the crossbow and grab the shotgun. I brought both today just in case. I could tell this was the same bird we had seen the previous 2 days, with his wide beard and a little hole in his tail fan. He was keeping us entertained, if nothing else.
This bird is giving us a run for our money. It's really hard to hunt out of a blind. There's a lot of great benefits to hunting out of a blind. There's also a lot of things that could go wrong. A couple of days ago, we saw this same bird. It's the only one on this farm that we could tell. Nice big thick beard. I'm hoping it's a double beard. Hopefully I'll get to see it up close one of these days. The first day, I was set up out the right window, and he showed up out the left window and never came over to see our decoy. Yesterday we saw him, and he was with 2 hens, and he wouldn't give us the time of day. This morning, I set up out the left window, and sure enough, he had 3 hens with him, and they led him right past the right window. I tried to switch around real quick. I even dropped the crossbow and picked up the shotgun, and they kind of got through the thick stuff before we could make it all happen. So they're just out there feeding at about 110 yards. Whoever said turkey hunting was easy was wrong. We're gonna keep at it and see what happens.
And in the blink of an eye, my luck had changed. Suddenly, the hens turned and started working their way towards us and bringing the tom right along with them. It looked like they were going to walk by behind us at 40 yards. Matt and I got set up the best we could and waited for the gobbler to close the distance.
See where that one bird is right now? The lead bird. He just cleared that second tree. I need you to let him go by. Okay, good. Where'd he go?
He's going that way.
Behind us. Slowly spin around. I'll back up. Do the best we can.
Hens are watching.
He's close.
He's right here. Come around. There he is. He's right there. Quick, turn it.
I'm on the decoy, so you just shoot. Is he going to the decoy?
Turn with me. His fan's up.
I don't have him. I don't have him.
Come on, lean
I
by
do not have him.
Lean over here by me. Lean the camera. Go down.
Got him. I got him.
We got that bird.
Well, I got decent footage of it.
We gotta go see that bird. This thing has been crazy. I don't know what kind of footage we got. Poor Matt. He's a clay modeler, and he's a cameraman during this quarantine. This bird has it's made it exciting. Whew. I put the crossbow down, and I picked up the shotgun. And we were waiting, and I thought for sure it was over. They came through in a spot we didn't anticipate. He had 3 hens with him this morning, so he didn't even want to look at that decoy that we had out. The hens took him through this fence row, And we watched him get further and further and further away. They were just feeding. He was strutting the whole time. And we thought it was over. I was over here crying in my Cheerios. And the hens just started feeding back towards us. And right at the last second, we're all set up out this tiny back little window of this blind. And they're about to go right in front of us from left to right, and all of a sudden they turn and they split. The hens start coming through the woods to our right, and the tom came through
3 yards.
3 yards away. We heard him stepping and breaking little sticks here. He went right through, and he finally saw our decoy, and he finally wanted to go check it out, and that's all I could take. I want to go see that beard. We've been looking at it through binocs for 3 days now, so let's get out there and check it out. I guess I'm gonna have to wait another day for my crossbow turkey. I just couldn't stand it. Come on in here, Matt. Check out this beard. It's not a double, but it is thick. Oh, it is a double. Can you zoom in and see? I don't know what in the world I've never seen a beard like this. There's the base where it attaches.
Second base.
He's got this really a second base with this crusty, it almost feels like it could be a spur here. Can you see that okay? That is cool. I guess, I don't know how we'll measure the double beard part. That's one beard.
Yeah.
It kind of, the second one's coming out of the center. That's crazy. We could tell it was just a thick, thick beard. Beautiful. See the spurs. Nah, they're just maybe an inch, maybe 3/4 on that one.
Once we got home and put a tape to it, the spurs were 1.25 and 1 inch, and the beard was 9.5 inches, with the second one measuring 8.5 inches. A great trophy. I was beyond happy to finally put a tag on this beautiful bird.
Well, thanks to the landowner Tim, who let us come out and hunt his farm, and our friend Franz, who got permission for us to hunt here. It's been exciting, my goodness.
Phew, we can sleep in tomorrow.
Finally get to sleep in. We've been hunting for, is this our third weekend we're into right now?
Yeah.
The third Saturday of the season.
Special thanks to my husband Matt for sticking with it and having the patience to run the camera for me this year. It was a baptism by fire, and he did an amazing job capturing this exciting hunt we won't soon forget here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
Well, as you can see, they had a ton of fun on that hunt, and thank you so much to Matt for running the camera. That helps us out a ton. Now, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, last week we went back 17 years ago to watch me and my dad on a turkey hunt. Well, what we're going to do right now is go back 20 years ago to see Jenny Olson at the time on a very memorable hunt. Now, 20 years ago, Jenny was 31. I was 28. Our own Jordan Brown, well, he really wasn't working with us yet because he was 11 years old 20 years ago. And he was, we think, about 5th grade. So it just kind of puts in context how long ago these hunts were. But it's a very memorable hunt with our own Jenny Olson.
Our hunt started very early, as spring hunts do. Now, we split into 2 groups this morning. Jenny and her crew had sat for 4 hours in this spot alongside this giant 80-acre field with some decoys out in front in hopes of luring in a bird who may wander out into the field. Jenny was hunting with Ron, who was a good friend of Mike's and a member of the National Wild Turkey Federation as well. And really, the NWTF is quite an organization. They have 55 chapters around the state with over 7,500 adult members and 2,500 youth members in their Jakes program. The NWTF is a member of the Michigan United Conservation Clubs and is really dedicated to conservation of the wild turkey along with preserving our hunting heritage. The NWTF, along with other groups around the state, really are to thank for the expansion of the wild turkey throughout this state. It wasn't long ago that you had to travel many a mile to find this majestic bird, and now all across the state, sportsmen have a chance to chase this bird literally right out their back door. Now, Jenny's hunt was shaping up nicely. After seeing a variety of game from their little perch, a group of Jakes had made their way into the field. And after watching these birds who had no interest in coming across the field to check out the decoys, Jenny and Ron had a decision to make. They opted for the old sneak-up method. They would retreat into the woods and come around the field closer to the birds in hopes of coming up to the edge and then calling the birds down from another angle. You know the old proverb, patience is a virtue? Well, whoever wrote that must have been a turkey hunter, because not only did this move around the field not produce any of the jakes who had disappeared, another and even worse result was about to rear its red and white long bearded head. Jenny learned that leaving a group of decoys out may draw a result you're not quite ready for. That's right, a nice big tom was making his way across the field as our stealthful hunters were making their way around the field. And now in their unattended decoys was a beauty of a bird. Jenny's look here really says it all. You would think that after 4 hours you would be safe to move, but you would have been wrong, as our hunters were this morning.
So what happened on that one, Jenny?
A little too impatient, I guess. We sat there for 4 hours in our spot and watched these 3 jakes out here all morning and got a little too antsy. Thought we'd sneak up on them, and while we were sneaking up, the big gobbler snuck up on our decoys, so...
How far was he from the blind?
Oh, I guess probably a couple of yards. Yeah, it makes hunting all worthwhile.
But our afternoon hunt would be a different story. After a few setups, Jenny and her crew were knee-deep in the birds. Mike explained his strategy when it comes to calling.
I like to start out most of my calling sequences really quiet and coy with a bird and see how he responds. And if he's responding good, then I can get a little more aggressive with him. You notice that a lot of times when we were looking for birds during the day, I'd stop and give a real loud yelp on a box call, and if that didn't get a response, I would cut real loud on it, do that real sharp, loud cut. A lot of times that would cause that bird that's high enough and loud enough that they could hear it through all the foliage, and it would cause them just to kind of shock gobble and let us know where they're at so we could get set up on them. Once I get set up, I like to start out soft again and be really coy and work him. And if he's answering real good and gobbling good, then I'll get more aggressive. That bird we worked this morning, once I started cutting at him, he started really starting to warm up and started gobbling at us real hard. And I knew what I was doing was getting him excited, so I kept giving him more of it. So those birds weren't too call shy once we got them cranked up. They were gobbling pretty hot and furious.
As these birds made their way in, Mike explained to us what was going on.
I mean, we first heard a hen yelping, and we moved in and set up thinking if we could call the hen in, maybe the hen might have a tom with her. And we called for a while, and she answered a couple times, and then we moved in a little closer because we didn't hear her, and all of a sudden we heard some racket, and there was a bunch of toms fighting each other. They were doing what's called kind of a fighting rattle, purring and clucking at each other, and we could see the heads bobbing back and forth and them fighting. And we sat down and started calling, and eventually they worked their way in. There was a whole mess of jakes and a hen or two that was with that whole flock. So it was exciting.
Exciting indeed. Let's just watch as this hunt unfolds.
Oh yeah.
You got him, Mr.
Man,
Jake.
all of them out there is kind of.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job. He's got a nice beard for a Jake. That's a good beard for a Jake.
For a Jake, that's about a 5-6 inch beard. That's exceptional for a Jake.
It
No
really
problem.
is.
Yeah.
Usually they're about half that on a Jake.
Usually a yearling bird like that's only going to have just about 3-inch beard or so there's nothing wrong at all with that. That's
Okay.
cool. You earned this one too.
Yeah.
Jenny had done a great job and had waited for the good, close shot. It's great to see Jenny and many other women taking to the woods as well. The National Wild Turkey Federation, along with MUCC and others, have started programs set up to introduce women to the great aspects of the outdoors. And one of the best aspects, in my opinion, is the great sport of turkey hunting. Thanks again to Pete Odlin and Mike Kennedy for taking us along today. And if you get a chance, don't miss one of the best things going in Michigan's out of doors, hunting the wild turkey.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you check us out online. There's a few different ways you can do that to kind of see where we are and what we're up to these days. Our website is MichiganOutofDoorsTV.com. We're also on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And speaking of what's coming up, we've got a lot of excitement headed your way this spring.
Well, that's right. We do have some good stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. Now, we have not been doing much traveling around the state of Michigan with all the restrictions, and those are starting to loosen up, apparently. But we're going to show you how to go about doing a charter boat fishing trip in a safe manner here in the lockdown. Charter boats are something that is legal to go do, as well as guided fishing trips, and we're going to show you how to take a family out and do that safely and show you the precautions that we did to make sure everybody was safe. So lots of good stuff coming over the next few weeks. If we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by.
Do you dream of somewhere bigger than your backyard? You can get there with Greenstone. Whether you want to hunt, fish, hike, or just watch the sunset, we're ready to help you own your place in the great outdoors. To learn more, visit greenstonefcs.com.
Closed captioning provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, east to Monroe, to St. Marie and back again. I am a Michigan man.